So last night, in the middle of the night, I had to go up and use the restroom, which is very, very uncommon because I normally sleep entirely through the night. While I was using the restroom, I started to think about why certain things operate. I started to think about why certain people can't grasp spiritual concepts while others can. And that led me to questioning why manifestation works, why law of attraction works. How does it really technically work? Because the deeper level of understanding I have about something, the more I can give it to you, the more I can apply it to my own life. And so I'm going through these scenarios, thought experiments, questioning how does consciousness actually work? Like, you and I probably both know that our thoughts can create our reality. You know, we think happy thoughts, happier things happen, we get luckier. I think we all know kind of like the basics. But not many people really dive in and say how and why. Joe Dispenza does a little bit, and he's great, check him out. But how and why? Why is it that when you think something, it appears in the hard reality? What is that process like? And so I'm up late at night, it's like 2 in the morning. I go back to bed, but my mind is just racing and racing and racing. And so I say, well, I either need to shut my brain off and go to bed, or I need to get up and do something with this profound sense of energy. Ta-da! That is when you get me at 2 in the morning in my pajamas, just literally just download after download, writing everything as fast as I could. I'm going to go through every piece with you. There's some in the back as well that I'm going to talk about. And it all stems from wanting a deeper understanding of how the universe works, how consciousness works. And this level of deep understanding is going to help you manifest more. It's going to help you make more money and create your actual reality because you know why things work better. At least to my limited capacity of human knowledge. So the main question I asked is, okay, why and how does consciousness and the universe work? How does it operate, right? And I wrote down the term, this is magnetism. I'll say everything out loud because this is like Einstein's crackhead whiteboard. Magnetism, right? Magnetism is obviously real. And that's what I just mentioned. Thoughts become reality. We know this, right? We have a general understanding. You think good, you get good. You think bad, right? Well, like the strangest secret, all that sort of stuff, right? So it's like, we know this. Magnetism is real. What we vibrate at sends a magnetic frequency that returns in the form of substance, right? Like what I just mentioned. We think for a week we're lucky, we get lucky. Our thoughts transform into a physical substance, a physical output, right? We give the input, we get the output. We know that to be true. And so, think, talk good, get good. Manifest in the form of reality in the 3D. And so there's obviously a process that is happening. There's a process, right? It's difficult to kind of comprehend and dive in, but I'm going to try to be as simplistic as possible. And the process is this. It's consciousness to the 3D is the transmutation, right? Consciousness, 3D, transmutation. And the strength of the effect of which way you go is completely unbiased. I think everybody, you know, this is kind of a hard opinion, but like everybody has their own power of consciousness in a way. And it varies depending on a lot of different factors, which can be another video in and of itself. But which way you go is completely unbiased. It's like, if you want to be super, super negative, if you want to be the most negative person on planet Earth, you're going to get that same reciprocation in the negative in the 3D, right? It's completely unbiased. Whichever way you go, good, bad, whatever, it returns. It's unbiased. So why and how the input gets the output. And so I was really contemplating this. I'm like, what is the actual process like? Because we just know it as, I don't know, it just comes, right? It just comes. But there's things that we do, like spiritual laws, that go into it that we know are real to get the output. For example, belief is all powerful. I've talked about this many times on my channel and in many videos. Belief is all powerful. Talking about things and thinking about things with zero belief or zero faith is not going to work. And so I said, okay, clearly belief is a part of the equation, right? Belief is a part of the equation. And I also know, to a very, very deep degree, and it says this in the Bible, it's scripture, humans fundamentally are made in God's image. That's what this says. Humans fundamentally are made in God's image. God's image. And so that we know that we're made in God's image and his likeness, therefore we have similarities. Because like if you think about God, God is creation. God is instantaneous creation of everything. Nature, human beings, the world, absolute creation. And so fundamentally, if we are made in his image and likeness, then we also are creators. You can't distinguish that. It's the same. We're creators as well. And so God, doing that and creating us in his image and likeness, made us creators. That makes perfect sense because that's what God is. And so God needed a method, a system for us to create, right? Very simplistically. In conjunction with him and the divine, right? It's a partnership. You can't create without the divine. You just can't do it. You need to tap into other energies, other frequencies than the human. And so knowing this, we're made in his image and likeness, we needed a system of creation. And so that's where brain, soul, spirit, body comes into play, which is the actual 3D makeup of our being. And I know I'm covering a lot of ground here. This is going to get really, really kind of crazy. But so knowing this, he needed a system for us to create. So he creates the soul, creates the mind, creates the body. And in conjunction with those, we have thought. We have consciousness, which is the method of creation. See, because God is pure consciousness, right? Like pure, unadulterated, like the void, like everything. All I am, right? I am. And so he was like, okay, at least as I can imagine, making humans, they're going to be creators as well because I need them to self-sustain and I love them and I want to give them this power to create their own reality. I truly believe that. And I can kind of say that here, like loves himself, wants us to, he's generous, wants us to be in his likeness, have a similar ability in partnership, in conjunction with himself and the void. And so there's a system. There's a system that he created for us to use to create. That system is thoughts. Because we are made in his image. And it's the system. Every single thought we have, the entire use point is to create something. Even if you're just in a conversation, like how does that even make any sense? If I'm having a conversation with somebody, how am I creating something? You're creating a response. You're creating behavior. You're creating a connection to another person. If you're solving a math problem, your thoughts are using your brain to create a solution. Every single thought has the purpose of creation. It is the vehicle to create. The vehicle. That's what he gave us. That's our way of creating thought. And I wrote something here that came to me, if I can find it. This is a fucking nightmare. I said, God gave us the method of the brain using thought, and whatever we choose to think about is ours, which is unfathomable, but real. That's love. Right? Imagine giving a being that level of autonomy, that level of free will. You can choose your thoughts. You can choose your thoughts, and whatever you choose is yours, so long as it's in conjunction with, me as your creator. It's yours. That's a crazy amount of love. That's a crazy amount of love for another being. And so God gave us this method. Why do I say this with such certainty? Because I've done it. I've personally done it. I've seen people do it, right? They have thoughts, they create it. That's the method of creation. That exists because we're made in his image. That exists because he wants us to be fully autonomous and self-fulfilling and be creators, just like it, because it's incredible. And that level of autonomy is unbelievable. I'm going to say it again. God gave us the method of using the brain, using thoughts, subconscious, and whatever we choose to think about is ours in present tense. Now, here's where things get very interesting, and I think I wrote about this. Yes, I did. So if you know anything about law of attraction, manifestation, whatever you want to call it, creating your own reality, there's a method, right? This is obviously on a higher level, but like on a deeper level, the method is doing this in present tense. You have to do it in present tense, present ownership with full faith. And knowing that in the 40, in that realm of consciousness, it's already done. So I said, why? why do we have to do things in the present tense, right? What's the magic behind that? Well, what my brain came up with at 2 in the morning is because that's how God creates. And so God, via soul, via spirit, is with us, is inside us, always creating, right? But that's how he creates. And so if God creates that way, it would make total sense, because we're made in his image and likeness, to have a similar methodology, right? A similar system, a similar way of creating. Because God says, this is that and that is. Like instantaneously, right? I said, let there be light, there's light. Boom. That's power. And so we must do as God does, because we're in his image, because we're in his likeness. And that's why when we manifest, we can't hope for things, because what that means you don't have it. If you truly have faith in the Father within, in God, in your creation, in your divinity, it is I am. It is present tense, because you were doing as God does. That is why you have to do things in present tense. That's why. Because we're made in God's image. That's how God creates. And so we must follow in his footsteps. I am. Complete faith and ownership. In the 4D, then of course 3D sorts itself out, and boom, 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 it comes. That's why we have to be in present tense. That's the power of it. And there's no separation, because it's already true in the 4D. And so here's where things get a little bit more interesting. Let's see, just like him, in the realm of consciousness, 3D world, time lapse. Why? Yes. So as I'm going through this madness session, and there's a little more in the back I'm going to speak on, I said there can be a time lapse. Not always, depending on the faith, the power of the creation of the thought, of the consciousness. But sometimes there's a delay from idea, thought, seeing it, visualizing it, and appearing in the 3D world. So I said, why? Like, obviously we're not God, and God's instantaneous. I know that, but let's go a little bit deeper. Why is there sometimes a 3D time lapse? And so it's time to flip the whiteboard over. Whiteboard's flipped over. There was something here I can't show you. I'm gonna write it back. But the train of thought I was on is, why is there a time lapse, right? And so the thought in the creation method, the consciousness, it must go somewhere or tracked. Those are my two methodologies. Either it literally goes somewhere, like our thoughts have substance, it goes somewhere with the input, comes back with the output, or we're vibrating from whatever thoughts we're using that bring in the output, naturally attracting the output. You could argue which one, but it always has to be in present tense. And there's also things we must do in accordance, right? It's a collaborative process. Like we always have to give to show faith. We have to show acts of faith and belief in the Father, because that's the divine source of creation that we're tapping into. It's a collaborative experience. Whenever you lose sight and you've manifested something really great and you don't think you need God and you think it's all you're cooked. You're so cooked. You gotta find your divinity again, because we only can do this in conjunction with the divine. That's our power. And so I started this because of the present tense question, right? That is how God creates, and we are in his likeness. So we must act it, and have some creation method. Because if we're in conjunction, we need to practice our faith. It's disrespectful, right? It's not showing gratitude and belief in your ability to create if you're looking at the divine and saying, I actually don't believe it, I'm scared, I'm fearful, I have all these negative emotions. It's not going to happen. And so we have to do those behaviors in the 3D and in the 4D to put the pieces of the puzzle together, because it's in conjunction. See, if we were God, it'd be instantaneous, and that would be all we need. But because it's a collaborative experience and process, we have to put the pieces of the puzzle together. That's why you send out an input, you get an output back of a hunch or an intuitive feeling to do something. That's a piece of the puzzle to put it all together, because the divine is moving pieces in real time. Every time you manifest, every time your thoughts create your reality, you can be, I don't even care where you are in the world, there's people around the world being put into place to have that come to fruition. That's the power of creation. There's no limit here. There's no limit here. And another point that I mentioned as well, the collaborative method, is that our thoughts have substance, right? Like whether, I don't know whether they're going somewhere. I wasn't 100% certain if they're attracting things via vibration or if thoughts are literally going somewhere and coming back, maybe to the 4D, coming back, into the 3D with the output. Nonetheless, they carry substance. If it's vibrationally attracting things and people, or if it's going somewhere and getting back an output of things and people to create a reality, our thoughts have substance, which is back to one of my main points. The reason our thoughts are here is completely for creation. Whatever we choose to think about is ours in present tense. We have that ability. We have that power. And so I implore you, this was a very high level conversation. This is just, I don't even, this is something I felt very inclined to get out. Whether it's completely understood or not is okay. I'll leave it here forever. The point is, every single thought you have is creating something. Every single one. It's our creation method. It's our divine divinity of why we are human beings. Every thought is forming something. Every thought is a creation method. It's either vibrating or it's going somewhere and bringing it back, all in real time. Our actions, everything. We're constantly in a state of creation. Use them wisely. Have dominion over your thoughts. Have dominion over your actions. Have so much faith that you are made so powerfully, like God in a lot of ways, that you have the power with your thoughts to do anything. Anything. We're made in the image and likeness of the creator of earth. Like, think about that. think about the power of that. And so I implore you with this information to use it wisely, have dominion. If you want more mindset resources, it won't be as deep as this, trust me. They're in my bio. If you're a high-level entrepreneur, I work with them one-on-one on the spiritual aspect, on the mindset stuff, on the business stuff as well. There's going to be an application form below if you want to have a conversation on that. Only established entrepreneurs, please. And I hope you found this valuable.